because he's not really sharp. Now look at the extraordinary reach Joe has. Now Joe has missed some shots that typically he doesn't miss.
Actually, they're both making a lot of errors.
Yeah. Joe's got to be very careful, as I said before, because it has an 11-point tiebreaker. It's got to be very, very careful. You see what I mean? There's the court mastery that I was talking about. The more Albert engages in the volley, the worse off he's going to be ultimately. Get out to the screen if he was going the wrong way.
Well,
I think that's a remarkable thing.
I just spoke to Danny.
Albert was running clearly to the right line, and Joe hit the ball behind his back.
So he went by the movement of the server, which is incorrect.
I wonder if he was watching.
It's safer to call a screen.
Okay. Joe has gloves that appear to be wet, but it's just from long uses. What's unusual about Joe is that he wears these large gloves. He doesn't wear the official gloves. Albert used to wear the same gloves as Joe, but you notice today he's wearing the regulation type glove. Joe has missed about 4 kill shot attempts from various points in the court. Of course, it's been neutralized by Albert serving out 3 or 4 times. So that's why it's still an uncertain question. I still believe about the 11th, 12th, or 13th point, you'll see who will be the master. There'll be a mini master if Albert scores the points. There'll be a major master if Joe scores the points. We gotta wait till the teens before this thing breaks open. When it breaks open, it's really gonna break open. There's that overhand left shot to the corner again. Now keep in mind, the longer these volleys go, it's only still below 10 in the score, the worse it will be for Albert. He's played multiple matches, he's been involved in the administration of the tournament, and these are all factors that are going to start draining him. Let's see what happens. Takes twice the amount of energy. This is his second timeout. Keep in mind, a timeout in some phases of the game doesn't mean for rest. Sometimes a player will use a timeout in order to stop his opponent from multiple scoring. Other times he may do it just to rattle him a little bit. So these are all factors that go into this game. Albert typically hasn't used that tactic. He typically takes a timeout because he's tired. So knowing that, we know that there's going to be a little more pressure. The score is still below 10, and he's already used 2 timeouts. This does not look good for the rest of the game because the pressure of the game is yet to come. But let's see what happens.
I'd say between the 2 and that looks a lot like tired and drained.
There's no question about it.
Joe has a kind of a nervous walk all the time. He's always walking around. He can never stay still. Is that his character, always to be moving around?
I think that's good to do. I don't think you should stand still. I think you should be in slow motion around the court, because if you stand still, your legs can tend to tighten up. Anything can happen, you know? So I prefer to walk around and just towel off and then try and focus on what I plan to do.
He seems to have a restless character generally.
He really isn't. I think he's the consummate professional in this sport.
Wow, beautiful shot.
This is the chunk through the game.
That's how the game will go.
Beautiful shot. You know, it's funny, he swings so easily, he's got so much power.
He's only begun to start striking. Joe actually senses now that he has Albert within his grasp. I once saw Joe play Howie Eisenberg on a 4-wall. Eisenberg went to an 8-0 lead. And Joe walked back to the receiving zone and says, I got him. I looked him in the eye and said, you must be kidding. And wouldn't you know, he went back in the court and annihilated Eisenberg. He just sensed that he had his man tired. And it's like body language that you look for, too. Watch for the body language. Certain little telltale signs. You see it a lot in tennis. Where the player who just missed the shot walks back to his position with his tail between his legs. Albert has to score heavily here just to stay in the game, and by scoring heavily, he'll be tiring himself out. He's asked for a glove change, which is in effect another timeout.
Right. How old is he?
Who's that, Joe?
36 years old.
Joe was 36 and a half.
No, I mean the other fellow.
Albert's 36.
36.
And a slight fraction.
So they're 35 and 36.
No, they're both past 36.
They're both past 36.
Neither one has reached 37. Joe is on about 36 in 9 months, and Albert's about 36 in 3 months.
So they're a little bit past their prime as far as mobility is
Not today.
That might have been true in the old days, but
The young kids are zero. Nothing.
Because these guys are moving around beautifully.
I'll tell you a story. 20 years ago at the National Floor Walk Convention, we had a resolution to the effect, should a man over 40 be allowed to play in the Masters Singles, which was the designated age, and they actually voted that down. And today, in 1991, we have divisions of play, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, and this past year, we've had a division for 75 singles. And you imagine what has happened in all these years through nutrition, through genetics, through medical advances. A person who is in his mid-50s today is really not the same person that 20 years ago was in his mid-50s. They were vegetating in their mid-50s years ago. Now they're practically at the prime of life. Same here. These guys are 35 years old. In the old days, you had to be like 20, 21, 22. And then if you were lucky, you would have another resurgence at 25, 26, 27. Because we haven't brought enough new players along in the interim, fellas like this will go on. But it's going to take about another 3 or 4 years before the new players will evolve to take their place.
Come on, that ball was good. Yours here.
Hey, wait a second. If it's good, he should be serving.
Now, it's correct. Joe hit it off.
Albert said it was good. He can overturn it.
Albert thought he called the other shot.
I was saying Albert's ball was going to went over there.
Fine.
Okay, we've had a little break in the action here for a millisecond.
8-14.
Albert was confused for the moment. Joe hit the ball out on the left side, and Albert shouted out, hey, that ball was good. But he was thinking about it. And now what has he done? He's actually hit it out on the left side.
That's the 4th time.
He knows he's under pressure. He knows he has to play great just to stay in the game. And even if he should come close, it's going to take much more out of him.
How come he's not changing his service to a more conservative service after losing 4 points like that?
That's the only way Albert knows how to play. He's limited basically to waist and below shot making. That's his style. He usually hits the ball at the same pace all the time. And if you can disorient him with a spin of the ball, like Joe was trying to do before by volleying into different positions, like over his shoulder type, then that disorients him further. But he knows there's plenty of pressure on him.
Oh, that's a very hard shot to make.
And Joe gives a little body English there, like he's really, gee, I can't make this shot. It's not because he thinks he's in trouble. It's because he thinks he should make every shot. That's his real problem. All right. He's going to focus now. Oh, my. From my viewpoint here, I thought that ball might have
All
missed
the
the
local
line.
people are rooting for Albert to win.
How come they are, Morris?
Because Joe struts around like a peacock all winter.
Yeah, well, he's a striker. That's what he is.
Albert has hit another ball out on the left side. He's over swinging now.
He seems to be trying to make the very difficult shots instead of playing.
I would say about 90% of this crowd love that shot. And in their hearts, because they're favoring Albert, the underdog, they probably think he's going to rush right to the championship. As I said before, we don't know that. This raises another interesting question. Sometimes the crowd can actually propel a player past his performance. Notice Joe is slapping, just on top of the long line. He's ready to play it either side.
That's it, baby!
Joe's lateral movement is tremendous. Wow, of course, the green sometimes comes to a little bit of a pause. Joe is refocusing now. He says, oh my gosh, what did I do? I think I let this guy back into the game. Here I am, the greatest player of all time, letting this little guy back into the game. I can't let that happen. I'll tell you what, folks. This bud's for you. Watch me go now. Joe theoretically should be putting the ball with the left long line. Right there. That's the spot. Okay. Now he's going to try and outthink himself. He should go with the same serve. This is the third and final timeout.
Now, could I ask you this, Ruby, why the left long line isn't, it's a pretty low serve. Couldn't he move back and couldn't Albert move back and keep the ball low and maybe put it down the line?
Once a man is tired and his strength is waist and below with his best possible shot making, once you push him back near the long line, then he has not only to force the ball to the wall, and in this case it's almost a desperate attempt to blast it by Joe, or a way out concept that he's got to kill the ball. He knows in his subconscious that because he is tired, he's going to have to return the ball to the wall. And that's all Joe is going to need to command the center court. Now, as you observed before, in the earlier part of the game, Joe had the opportunities, but for some reason he was missing the shot. Now, he has this intuition about putting the pieces together. I think he's going to go with his strong serve. Sometimes he outthinks himself, and then, see? Isn't that brilliant? He's the only champion in all the years that I've watched this game who has the ability to stroke the ball underhand with either hip to either corner. Now that is truly phenomenal. One of the reasons is he has unusually large hands. When he was in a tough match with Torres a few years ago, his large hands allowed him to neutralize Torres' hooks by just pushing it back because he traps the ball in his hand. That wasn't a bad attempt. Albert tried the right thing.
He's got pretty good hooks himself, though, hasn't he, on the serve anymore?
Albert is very tired now, and those won't show to any consequence. He's just going to try and power his way through the game.
Albert's left hand is not at all. It's definitely showing some back, isn't it?
He doesn't have a thinking left hand. He has like a flailing left hand. He's just so together and planner all to make the shots.
No, I don't talk to the more very low profile.
What time?
Okay, you know, I did a lot of talking during that game. Now what I want is your observations, Matthew. You're a...
Score is 0-0. Keep it down during the Slow down on the score, okay? Thank you. All right.
3 playing 0. Point. 4 playing 0.
Okay.
Plenty here.
You see, Matthew? That was the serve I was talking about.
To the long.
He pushes that right out to the long line on the left side. Truly amazing.
Well, how come Albert, after all of these times of playing Joe Durso, how come he hasn't adjusted to this and made it, or tried, or...
Joe's power now, because of training and push-ups and pull-ups and staying in magnificent shape, I think he's just like an overwhelming force. And Albert, in my judgment, doesn't have the degree of skill in order to put a stop to the onslaught of that power.
Yeah.
He's just the guy who's blessed with a wonderful physique and speed, but is limited in the shots.
Joe's got a lot of confidence in himself right now. Stay where you are. We'll do without you.
No. I don't think you should go there now. Albert's upset already. You better step back. You better go back, see. Wait till it's time out or something. Don't go there now.
Block ball. Leaving place.
You see, there was a little problem there.
You think that was a good call?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Good call.
If there was another referee back there, they might have pulled out another
Penalized
one.
as a serve. He gets up with a shot.
Yeah, but he waited for about a second. He was
That was 3 bounces.
What's wrong with you?
3 bounces.
Oh my God! Don't ever talk to me. You are not my friend.
2 bounces. 2 bounces. 2 bounces.
Hey, Len.
2 bounces.
3.
2 bounces.
3 bounces. 3 bounces.
Why is this guy running?
Never again. Talk to him.
Okay. What I suggested before has finally happened, but I don't think it's going to affect Joe's play. He's just going to be more determined to punish Albert for that call. The man on the line has made two very bad calls. In my judgment, I think he's too close to the floor. I think to be a good referee on the short line, you have to be standing.
That's what Morris said, that he should stand back further. That he should stand back further. He can't really see.
It should be overseen.
Okay, we're still early in the game, and maybe happily this thing happened right now.
Albert could score about 5 points right now. Joe couldn't even see the ball.
I think that probably in Albert's mind, he believed that he got the ball.
No, he didn't.
But sometimes under the panic of the moment, you sometimes forget yourself. Joe made a wonderful lift of a low serve there. But just keep in mind, as this game wears on, Albert will be under more and more pressure. Try first to win the game, and then think forward to the tiebreaker if any.
And the 2 bounces return.
4 playing 5.
Look at that reach.
Beautiful, it's
It was a wonderful reach.
He was so tall that it was awkward.
This again, in my opinion, is going to be a mini move by Albert. And the longer the score stays close, the more he's going to be tired.
Oh.
That's one way to become a soprano.
That's a very hard shot to make, isn't it, Ruby? There's a block and you get to see the ball for half a second and swing.
Well, that's why it's the job of the referee to make a call. The unusual thing here is that, for some reason, Joe is more focused and he's containing himself a lot better than he did in the past. We've had long talks about this.
Oh, you mean he becomes very volatile?
Yeah. I told him many times there's no reason for him to do it. He answered by saying, I'm not like anybody else. I don't have to bottle this up. I said, Joe, there may be a few people that are going to try and rattle you. So just stay calm and be the champion that you are. He seemed, that happened yesterday. He listened.
5 all.
So, is his play inferior when he gets rattled?
No, as a matter of fact, he plays even better. Over the long pull, they pulled some pretty bad stunts on him to try and get him to blow up, but he's always come back even stronger.
So maybe it's good if he blows up. Perhaps it's an asset for him.
Yeah, but so far as the crowd is concerned, it should be maintained on a good basis. Okay, we're ready to play again. I think, again, as before, this is like a little bit of a feeling out process in the second game. They're both thinking about the consequences of the first game. I think the closer Albert stays to Joe at this juncture, the worse it's going to be. Again, it's my contention that when these two guys play, the real issue of the game takes place around the 13th and 14th point. Even if Albert were to take a 14-6 lead, say just in theory, Joe will come back very strong.
Yeah, oh yeah. Who knows what it is?
I thought it was it.
Come over here and let's could have missed the line.
Could have.
Joe, it was out. It was out. Play ball, come on.
It's out.
Joe, it was out. Play ball.
Cannot get the depth perception.
Yeah, I'm not saying I know it.
Don't you people believe in accepting a call, huh?
Why should they?
No, they said you people should
Why
accept
should they accept it?
Because he's the
They're
man on the
human beings.
line.
Why accept it?
Whether he's right or wrong, he's on the line.
If they're playing for
Why,
thousands
you
of
don't even
dollars,
have to make a comment at this point.
he should.
There's no
Okay.
He's a human being.
If you're watching that sideline from this angle, the ball tends to look good, but a professional referee will take that into account. So if it just looks barely good, it's probably out. So Joe, as I told you before, he responds to the abuse, even though it's concocted in his own mind, by coming back even stronger. Watch him go now. He is determined to punish Albert and the referees by superior play. Let's see what happens.
You went at Albert's right human. Do you think that was a good idea?
Joe is still, in his heart of hearts, knows the action will take place around the 14th point. Joe is really not concerned at this point what's happening. He'll allow Albert to take a lead. That was outside. That was good, eh?
Good ball.
Let's go, Al.
Okay, there was no problem with that one.
Joe wanted it to be out.
What happens, too, is when the hot sun starts beating down on this light cement, it causes like a mirage in the desert. Sometimes you see things that you thought you saw, and you really didn't. It's amazing. You could call a ball, and you'll be the only guy in the park who saw it that way.
Exactly correct.
Because the light is hitting your eye, you're facing the sun. It might hit your eyelid and cause a distortion in your eye at the moment that you're supposed to call the ball. The real great referees are very relaxed. I've seen some referees, they're concentrating so hard that they concentrate themselves out of calling the shot. Look at this. Means nothing. It means nothing. That's more for the crowd than for the outcome of this game. That was a multiple volley, and it's taking more and more out of Albert. You see, this is like a can of gasoline. As you get down to where the indicator on the dashboard says E, pressure is starting to be put on your system, and he's really going no place in this game. That's my opinion from what I've observed in the past. And that's the reason why. Did you see that shot? The same thing happened yesterday, Joe against Torres. Torres made a mini spurt in the second game with hop serves and some other shots to the corners, but Joe didn't let it phase him at all, and he pretty much blew him away again. That's what you got to be thinking about.
The ground got wet. Albert was so wet.
Far?
You're not listening.
Anyone here owning a black Bronco automobile, it's being removed by helicopter right now.
Black Bronco.
Does it have a license plate? What license plate?
When I asked you to announce it, you couldn't answer it. Now you can do it, huh?
Do you want to leave now? I'll
I
announce.
wanted to leave before.
They were playing.
Whoa!
He made, excuse me, he asked me to make the announcement, sir.
So did I.
The official did.
Don't say a word. Who's involved in it?
Good ball!
Better late than never.
Okay, I think Joe's going to crank up. At this point of the game, Joe is just about enough of everybody. He's going to really try hard now and end this. I think he overswung on that one.
He's hitting the ball harder than he did the first game.
Albert did the right thing. His only chance is to try and end the volley in his favor. If he tries the pass or he tries the pump or tries the volley, it's going to be counterproductive. See, this game has not even begun yet, in my opinion. We're still to look forward to about the 13th or 14th point.
I think Albert's doing very well in points. I didn't think he'd make that one. Compound fracture.
How can he upend him?
It was a compound fracture.
How can he upend him?
How could he did it?
He's not entitled to hit the man.
Of course not.
Joe made the shot. You're not entitled to jump into the...
He did it.
This is a case where I think the referee made a major blunder. If Joe took a position and was standing still...
He was stationary.
...and his opponent decides to run through his legs and to attempt to play the ball, he should be out. Despite the excitement of the jumping and running and flying through the air, the official is supposed to know what the rule is. And unfortunately, since the play ended in Albert's favor, the referee undoubtedly played to the crowd. He didn't want to be hooted by the crowd. That's just a judgment on my part.
I think you're right. He was stationary.
Okay. You see what happens every time Joe gets into a bad spot? That's the mark of a real champion.
He didn't complain this time.
That's the mark.
He behaved like a gentleman.
I don't think Joe really knew what happened. He was trying to play the ball even though he was down and backhanded. He thought he was going to win the volley. Having done that, not successfully, he figured, I can't argue now because I had a shot. Maybe that's what was going on in his mind. And once in a while, when you're upset by another guy, physically, by his jumping into you, maybe you don't think as clearly as you should. Notice Joe's back. You don't see any sweat there yet. In order for him to really make those serves surge, you'll start seeing some sweat on his back. Notice Albert's back. See how it's glistening?
Yeah.
That shows you the difference of what's going on. Joe is just coming to the point where he's going to be totally warmed up. Warmed up. Sir, what kind of car do you have?
469 Chevy Station Wagon.
What color? Folks, there's a Chevy station wagon blocking up the traffic. Would you kindly move it, please? What is it? The last three digits are 469. Please help us out. Otherwise, everybody will be ticketed.
I donated that bill home.
Huh?
I donated that bill home.
Did you? Does it really play songs? Yeah? All you have to do is push the right button and it plays songs?
You gotta know the key.
Yeah.
The batteries have been there for 3 years.